Critical Role runs into some serious daddy issues. D&D has already decided to errata the 2024 Player's Handbook, and Cyberpunk 2077 the board game is smashing crowdfunding records.
We've got a city to burn.
Welcome to the Character Sheet, comic books home for tabletop and fantasy news. This week we are talking a serious Critical Role cliffhanger and a potential hint at the fate of a fan favorite. Plus, D&D have already had to errata the Player's Handbook before it even fully releases, and some big Cyberpunk 2077 news. But before we get started, please consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons so we can keep making these videos. And now, let's dive into the news.
Cannonball!
The Bell's Hells visited Nanamori in the Feywild in the latest episode of Critical Role, hoping to figure out what Ludinus's snow clone was doing in the Fey realms, and possibly drive a wedge between any alliance he was seeking with the Unseelie Court. But before they arrived, Marisha managed to fire some shots at toxic fandom, something Ashley and Laura know all too well, thanks to their experience on The Last of Us 2.
I mean, in Fearne, you should honestly be careful. I've heard, if a fandom ever turns on you,
it's bad.
It could ruin your life.
It could ruin your life.
Yes.
We also learned that Sam may be backpedaling on the whole evil thing, as he appeared to be testing the waters to become Critical Role's first multi-god divine class, and some pretty concrete evidence that we're finally getting the return of Scanlan soon for a Vox Machina episode of Campaign 3.
I'm going to try and gather the rest of my friends. Well, there's one in particular that's been kind of hard to reach. Wish me luck.
Once we got to Ligament Manor, not only did we see the return of Ira the Nightmare King, we also got to see Ira and Breus jockey for Nanamori's romantic attention. And even more importantly, we got a serious hint that Nanamori did not consider her pact with Aurum completed just yet. The Hells then headed out to locate the meeting place between Ludinus and the emissaries of the Unseelie Court, where despite some early bungled stealth rolls, they did find Ludinus's snow clone talking to the Unseelie Court about ambushing the Exandria forces somehow, but their plan to drive a wedge between their alliance fell apart pretty quickly, or as Taliesin put it in the cooldown,
If we've all learned, no plan survives one round.
True.
Fearne was spotted by Gloamgut and her father. Their options for trying to persuade the emissary for the Unseelie Court to their side was hindered by them, murdering all of his guards outside the meeting, and they are now staring down a presumably angry Sorrow Lord and his pet dragon. With it becoming pretty clear in the cooldown that the party still didn't really have a cohesive plan for this new development, we'll just have to wait and see if the Hells can survive this latest mishap. Oh, and speaking of mishaps, we got an epic new version of Shiver and Quiff from Matt Mercer as well.
Spread your legs a little bit. Spread your wings. I ain't fine. You right.
I was spreading those all over town.
I dare anyone to take that out of context.
I was trying to say.
Can't be done.
George R.R. Martin delivered on his threat to explain what he thinks has gone wrong with House of the Dragon, and the creative team at the hit HBO show has finally responded to his complaints. Martin, creator of the Fire and Blood book that House of the Dragon is based on, posted a now-deleted list of what's gone wrong with the House of the Dragon on his blog, calling out everything from a major missing character to the entire blood and cheese scene in the show, which he called underwhelming and disappointing compared to his written work. The showrunners did respond to Martin's criticism, saying they were great fans of his work, but they had to make some difficult choices to try and fully flesh out some characters and moments that may not have gotten the time they needed in Blood and Fire. So will this rift between the creator of Game of Thrones and the House of the Dragon team continue? We'll have to wait for Season 3, at least a year away, to finally find out.
Son of a...
Cyberpunk 2077, the board game, is smashing records over on GameFound, reaching its $100,000 goal in barely over 10 minutes, and now sitting at nearly $3 million in funding. The game also easily cleared every single stretch goal on day one, which forced the studio behind the game, Go On Board, to keep dropping brand new stretch goals, to the point that we're now 36 stretch goals in and very close to hitting number 37. This means that tons of new characters, new miniatures, and even new game modes have been added to the Cyberpunk 2077 board game, and it appears that even more are on the way. So if you want to learn more about Cyberpunk 2077, the board game, and its over 33 hours of story-driven cooperative campaign gameplay, check out the link in the description to see our coverage over on Comic Book.
You're not flying solo on this one.
Image Comics is teaming up with Solus Game Studios to bring some of their iconic heroes to a brand new fighting card game. The Massive-Verse fighting card game will feature some of Image Comics' hottest new heroes, including the team from Radiant Black, Inferno Girl Red, and Rogue Sun, just to name a few, and will also launch with a 2v2 format expansion called the Team Up expansion. The game is designed to feature fast combat as decks built around lead heroes like Radiant Black try and take on decks centered around their biggest villains, with card art that comes directly from the pages and covers of the comics themselves. The Massive-Verse card game uses the Pocket Paragon system, which is created by Solus Studios, and that means it's compatible with other Pocket Paragon sets as well. So you could have Radiant Black take on Acquisitions Incorporated in the crazy multiversal battle you never knew you needed. The Massive-Verse fighting card game, the Team Up expansion, and the official playmat all launch on October 2nd.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
And finally, the 2024 Player's Handbook isn't even officially out yet in all locations, but D&D has already dropped new errata for the book in D&D Beyond. As first reported by Christian Hoffer over on InWorld, link in the description, Wizards of the Coast has already dropped some day one changes to the 2024 Player's Handbook into D&D Beyond, including some minor clarifications and closing some potentially serious loopholes in spells like True Polymorph and Giant Insects, as well as changes to how using shields work in the 2024 rules, tweaking the Goliath's powerful build ability, and the telekinetic feat being changed so that it actually works as intended, instead of just summoning a mage hand so far away that you can't control it after you cast a spell. No official errata document for the 2024 Player's Handbook has been published on the D&D website, but Wizards of the Coast is probably just waiting for the book's full release on September 17th, so they have a chance to create a more comprehensive list of needed errata for the 2024 rules. And that's all the big tabletop and fantasy stories we have for this week. Please be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and let us know which story was your favorite down in the comments section.